Systemic barriers. For me, they are barriers that are so entrenched in a culture. You really lack the awareness or the language that they're there. So for me, my background, I'm in the marine industry on ships. So when you walk on board a ship, it's already set up and informed a certain way that the easiest thing to do is to just roll with it. And as you progress throughout your time on board ships, you start to feel like this world isn't quite for you. You have not been thought about. So in ships, it's a male-dominated industry. It has been for a very long time. Decisions are informed by men, perspectives, everything's done by men, for men. So it's really hard to appreciate what would a world look like if we took in other perspectives. And even if you want to and you have the best intention, without having more women in it, you can't actually make the right decisions or shape it that way. So, sometimes when we walk into these cultures, we're expected to just roll with it. Stuff doesn't fit us properly. We're expected to respond to like a fire with oversized equipment, or even just do something with our hands but the gloves don't fit. And the guys are always like, oh, just deal with it. And, it almost seems like too much of an ask to have something that fits you properly, because you're constantly being informed, like, this is a male-dominated industry. If you want to be here, you kind of got to tough it out. And so we need to really reshape that idea to being like, no, it's for everybody, and take that action way beforehand to make people feel welcomed, and not that it's a tall ask to just have proper fitting equipment. Because like I touched on very earlier, it's almost like a slap in the face. It's like, you have not been thought about, you do not belong here, this is a male-dominated world. So it's something that informs your whole being, and you just push through it. And eventually you get really tired. So I can go on a really long time about systemic barriers, but you entrench so much and you always feel like you're going through the muck, just trying to get to the top. But it's all these like little cues in your world that are constantly saying like, I'm an outsider, like I'm always an outsider. And that goes to even language. So yeah, it's all those things you just take in, and it makes it very, very, very hard. And most of the time they're very nuanced. Like the PPE, very overt, but there's also a lot of nuanced behaviors that tend to build up and get you very tired. So yeah, I gotta say for myself, and what I've seen in other women in our industry that have made it for so long, is a lot of resilience and grit. Women that have skills to endure hardship, maybe that's from their upbringing or whatnot, that unfortunately is an asset in making it in this industry for so long. And of course we like it to be different. But on a brighter note, I've also had like a bit of luck and really good allyship. So I've been lucky that no matter how many people there were against me and making it very challenging, I was very fortunate to have men in positions of power, so captains or whatnot, acknowledge that me as a person as opposed to a gender, and see my potential and my talent, and just treat me like everybody else and take me under their wing and give me opportunity. If I didn't have those opportunities, I wouldn't have made it, because I wouldn't have had the confidence to keep going forward. I wouldn't have had the confidence to show up somewhere else and be like, hey, I know I'm worth something, because in my last experience, I've been validated and I know I belong here. So you can try and push back, but I know my worth now. But if someone else didn't validate that for me, you'd have a really hard time staying even-keeled. I think great leaders have to have a lot of humility. They have to know that they're there in their position because hopefully they've done a lot of right things, they know their work, and they're confident and whatnot, but there's all these other extra elements of knowing they don't know everything. There's value in your team. No matter who the people are on your team, they all have something to offer. So incorporating, really bringing your team together and incorporating what the collective knowledge is, that's, I think, really huge. And so where I come from, ships are very hierarchical, so you have a dysfunction in that, because they don't tend to talk to each other, and the people in the lower ranks don't necessarily get a say in the top decision making. So I think a good leader, maintains ultimate authority and decision, but incorporates the knowledge and expertise of their people. That's really important to me, because that builds a lot of trust really quickly and it validates your people. We all want to be, like we say and hear all the time, seen, heard, and validated. If you're validating and seeing and listening to your team, they're going to want to work for you. They're going to want to have your back when you're having a bad day. Women are Generally speaking, when we talk about gender norms, we are more communal. We like to be like community oriented. We have more empathy, or emotional intelligence is a bit higher. So again, we're pretty good at building great teams, which tend to perform quite well, and seeking that input, which I know in our industry can be a little tough to navigate because you want to maintain, being assertive, but you also want to still maintain what is typical of being female, which is a bit more nurturing and mindful of everybody else, because we get a lot of pushback when it's all about us. But if we can reframe our needs within like, this is for the ship, this is for the organization, that gets embraced a lot better. So that's a nice trick to use. But also, if you've made it to become a leader as a woman in a predominantly male-dominated field, you've probably navigated a lot more challenges. You've had to figure out things. You had to get very creative to get to where you are. So you probably have like a lot stronger problem-solving skills. You have probably a lot more resilience. You can probably think a lot quicker on your feet. So all that hardship, you can turn it around into like having that extra edge. In terms of addressing systemic barriers, I think a big one is really making everybody aware. So we do need to start, I know we've got like DEI training and whatnot, but we have to think about the organizations that we're in and what those real barriers are. What do they look like? Like, do the work, set up a training program for your managers, for your leaders, for being aware and having that language of when these barriers are happening, when we're playing into these biases. Because the problem with systemic barriers is that it's not individual bias. It's like you are in a system where those biases are being reinforced. So actually, like, put it out in plain language and be like, hey, I know you've never had to think about this because you're always working with men. But when we buy into these behaviors, like, these are the implications, the consequences. Like, most people don't set out to harm intentionally. They just don't know. And so we really need to start raising that awareness and integrating it as almost a core value of your organization. Like, we get it. We all want to make money and run business very well, but we also know that if we have a diversified pool, there's more innovation, like people are happier. Anyway, so it's a beautiful thing. So actually make that one of your core things and then set out your expectations for your organizations and celebrate the people that are embodying that. The leaders are great. They're the ones that carry out the business aspect very well. They make the money, operations are smooth, but add that extra element of like, we champion leaders that also embody this, that know, like, that are okay having those uncomfortable conversations, aren't perfect, like stoic, traditional ideas of what a leader is. When you start adding that into your culture, or you're wanting that your culture to go that way, you're setting yourself up to be sort of ahead of the curve. So almost like when you're bringing people in, be like, hey, we really champion people that actively want to be inclusive, actively want to support. So yes, we want people to know how to be more welcoming, but also offer them support how to do that. I think that would be a great step. And data. I've got a lot more to say, but let's just stick with that one. Collect data. But yeah, give support to the people and set the vision for where you want to be.